What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the College Sports Connection podcast, where Double A, Alex, and AJ host the Mid-American Conference Best.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the College Sports Connection podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me as always, AJ the Guru.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
AJ, welcome back. We had a great week last week talking about the MLB preview. Here we are, 1 week in.
We are a couple days in, and everything's a fiasco now. What else do we?
Awful.
What else do we expect? Miami Marlins, Philadelphia. Who else? The Yankees were in there too. Well, the Yankees are now being accused of cheating, which is something we can get into also. And then when we talk about baseball, we can mention Houston and LA. Dodgers play tonight, so that could be an interesting one as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
I think I saw a stat. This is the first time in 88 games Houston is not favored. I believe I read.
Wow.
And yeah, this could be definitely an interesting one tonight. But
I hope the Dodgers work them.
I agree. And we got a lot to get into here. The lack thereof sports. There's still a lot of sports news in the NFL, college football. Ohio State made an announcement today about fans, so we can get into that. Some MAC football, some schedule changes. There's a lot that's happened really in the past 24 hours that we could do an entire show on, but we've got a few days to cover here, including.
I was going to say, I feel like yesterday, if we had recorded, we would have had nothing. Today, it feels like we have everything to talk about.
Yeah, we woke up to a lot of news this morning about a wide variety of things, including baseball, football, the NBA bubble. I don't know if you saw Lou Williams' deal. That was funny. But yeah, we've got NBA starts this week, the end of this week, I believe, or next week. I haven't paid much.
I think it's the end of this week, but I'm not entirely sure.
J.R. Smith's back. I love seeing that. So yeah, we have a lot to get into, and let's dive right into some baseball news.
Talk about some of these MAC guys playing right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
They're looking pretty good. I was looking at Adam Eaton over at Washington. He's got a batting average of .333. He's got 5 hits, 1 home run, 1 run batted in. He himself has 2 runs as well. He's looking good. Not bad to start the season. For his career, though, I mean, he's been batting .285. So I mean, he's not a bad hitter anyway. That's the guy out of Miami, Ohio. Out of Miami. Yeah, so he's been playing really well so far. 15 plate appearances, like I said, 5 hits. Not a bad way to start the season.
No, not at all. And see if I can find it here. So to find some. Yeah, 2019 last year, he played 151 games, had 566 at bats, 103 RBIs, 158 hits, 25 doubles, 7 triples, 15 home runs, and so on here. But he's a pretty consistent guy. He came into the league in 2012 with Arizona. He's had stints with Arizona, the White Sox, and now the Nationals. 2012, when he came in, he only played 22 games. Went 22, 26. He went from Arizona to Chicago from 2013 to 14. In 2013, he played 66. He comes to Chicago in 14, plays 123, 153, 157. And then he must have dealt with injuries in 17, where that 157 dropped down to 23 to 95, back up to 151. Now we're at 4 here. Obviously, only 4 games into the year. But, he said, let's see, he's 3,037 at bats, 508 career runs, and he's played in 793 ball games in this 8-year span. It's a lot of ball games.
That is quite a few ball games. That's not too shabby for a guy out of the Mid-American Conference.
No, who has a World Series ring?
Yeah, must be nice. I want one. I want the Reds to have one. We got John Birdie out of BGSU playing down in Miami. This guy is not off to that great of a start. 8 appearances, 1 hit, 0 home runs, batting average of 125. His on-base percentage, 125. It's just a little bit rough go for him. I want to say this is his Yeah, he's been in the league. He's been with a lot of different teams.
Yeah, he has. He's been with Toronto. Well, no, he's only been with two, Toronto and Miami.
Or I'm talking through their minor league system. Sorry. That's
Minor.
yeah, he's been with their minor league system, but he's been to Toronto. He's been with the Cleveland AAA down in Columbus, back to Toronto. He split time with Cleveland and Toronto in 2018. And then now he's been with Miami for the last couple of years, or for the last 2 years now. And
2 years,
I mean,
yeah.
he's been in the playing low A ball, started back in 2011. Not really much to talk about with him. I mean, looks like he's contributing, but right now Miami just needs people.
Mhm.
That's the tale for Miami.
Yeah, they have bigger issues than what they with what Birdie's doing here. But yeah, you mentioned he's batting 125. He's only played in 79 major league ball games in his career, 279 at bats, 75 hits, 15 doubles, 2 triples, and 6 home runs with 26 RBIs and 24 walks. But obviously, a guy who's only been in the league, in the majors 2 years. He was one of those guys who grinded it out in the minors for years and years. So he's finally getting a shot, and it'll be interesting to see in the 60-game stretch here how he contributes, what he does, and kind of how he can help Miami, because they need all the help they can get right now.
Well, exactly. And I think, assuming he stays healthy, we're going to see, hopefully for him, more from him over the next, like you said, 56 games. So we've got up next Eric Lauer from Kent State, up with the Brewers. He has pitched 1 game, only pitched for 2.5 innings, but he has 6 strikeouts.
Okay.
Not a bad start so far.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. He hasn't really done much in the majors. It looks like he's been in the majors 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Going on, this is his 3rd year. Yeah,
So
the 2 previous with San Diego, where he pitched in 53 games over 2 years with San Diego. He's pitched to 1 with Milwaukee to make it 54. He started 52. He's overall he's 14-17 with a 4.36 ERA and a 1.45 WHIP. Innings pitched, he's pitched, let's see here, 264 with 244 strikeouts, 98 walks. And he strikes out every 2.5 batters.
Yeah, not a bad whip, honestly.
Not a bad whip. No, he's given up 286 hits. And let's see here, earned runs 128. So for a young guy, he's not bad at all.
No, not at all. And he played some good ball down at Kent State. I remember hearing that name a few times. My buddy Graham lives over there in Kent. And, I mean, this is a guy he would talk about too. So
he's an Elyria kid. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Good kid, good player. So I don't know. I definitely hope for the best for him, obviously. Being in my division, I hope he doesn't do too well, at least against the Reds. But he looks like he's got a bright future over the next couple of years. So I'm excited to see what he can do and what he can bring to the table.
Absolutely. It's being a young guy, hopefully that ceiling is very high for him.
Absolutely. We've got next, moving on, Travis Shaw for Toronto, or I guess we should say Buffalo this year. Also played at Kent State. He has had a pretty good start this year. 6 at-bats, 2 hits, 1 run, on-base percentage of .500. He's not playing poorly. I mean, overall his career batting average is .244, but this is a good start for him, with that batting average, and it'll be interesting to see how much playing at a minor league park affects them. Yes, it's their AAA affiliate, but I'm really curious to see what that will do for them as the home team and how much these stats are affected by being in a slightly smaller ballpark.
Right. And one thing, too, I think I texted it to you a couple of days ago, the thing with Buffalo right now is they don't have good enough lighting for TV. So right. I think that's one thing they've got to work on here, because I don't think they've played a home game yet, and they're still – looks like they're at Washington next.
Yes.
Today, actually, it's 6:05. But, I'm really curious to see how that all does work out. Let's see here, over his career, played with Boston, Milwaukee, now in Toronto. He's played 5 seasons with 594 games total, 1,978 at-bats, 483 hits, 107 doubles, only 3 triples, 99 home runs, and where are we at here? 310 RBIs. So bringing a young guy, only being in the league 5 years, been around 3 teams already.
Mm-hmm.
He started off in Boston at 15 and only played 65 games and went to 145. Sent to Milwaukee, played 144, 152, then 86 last season, and now we're 2 games into this year. So, but the whole thing, playing a minor league ballpark, is going to be very interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think for him, there's the opportunity for him to kind of build on some of the success he's had so far and boost his confidence a little bit. Like you said, he's a little bit younger guy, so having that confidence boost in playing in a smaller park for the season with an abbreviated season, no less, even if he doesn't finish strong this year, hopefully it gives him the opportunity to kind of feel a little bit more confidence going into the future seasons. All right, so up next, we've got your boy, Zach Plesac, out of Ball State and now pitching for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Hasn't done anything yet this year.
No, he hasn't. I thought he was going to throw today, but he's not. Adam Plutko is in the second ball game because the Indians do have a doubleheader today against the White Sox. Mm-hmm. One at 340, then 7:10, I believe. But yeah, last year Zach was 8 and 6 with a 3.81 ERA, 88 strikeouts, and 1.23 WHIP.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. He obviously he hasn't done anything here as of this year, but he's a guy who was a year younger than me in college, so I saw him play a lot. And I believe he won MAC Freshman of the Year, 2014. I believe that's what happened. But yeah, he's only played with Cleveland. He's played in 21 games over his career. Let's see here. I mean, it's just hard to talk about because there's not a whole lot on him right now.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing from this year yet.
Nothing from this year. No. And so, like I said, I thought he was going to play or start the second game today because Chevelli is the first game. I thought it was going to be Plesac number 2, but it's going to be Adam Plutko instead. But yeah, really, just Zach's a good dude. He great ball player. He's from the Indiana the region area, so it's nice seeing a local guy be able to have the success that he has. And because he's a guy who he deserves it. He's worked really hard. He's from Crown Point, which is up in the region, near Chicago. And so, and that whole area pumps out baseball players left and right. We talked about it last time.
I was going to say that's like baseball central, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it last week's show. Crown Point had at one point, like 4 or 5 guys from the team go D1. And that was a couple of years before Zach. But, yeah, they've always pumped out good players and good prospects. And, yeah, I hope the best for them this year. It's going to be interesting to see. And one thing, too, we can kind of break off some of these players here is we've talked about a few pitchers. And if you've watched some of the games here as of late, it's very interesting to see how managers are managing their bullpens. For example, I was watching the Kansas City. Don't get me started. Exactly. I was watching the Kansas City Indians game the other day. And I think Kansas City went through 5 pitchers and 5 innings, I think it was, or 5 pitchers and 6 innings. And Carlos Carrasco went 6, I think, as the starter. So it's really interesting. And, of course, they were missing 4 or 5 guys with sickness and COVID and whatnot.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think they burnt through their bullpen pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, and that's so I get why managers are kind of tailoring their bullpens a little bit. It's frustrating, and I get that we had an abbreviated spring, and then the summer camp was 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Like, I get that we had a short time. I'm getting frustrated, at least as a Cincinnati fan, watching David Bell, who I don't think is a great manager for Cincinnati. I don't think he could manage his way out of a paper bag personally, but that's another story. I think what the issue is that he is removing these pitchers like Trevor Bauer the other day. I think he had 103 pitches in 6 1/3 innings. All right, that's fine. He was throwing heat, and I'm talking he was throwing, 98, 99 fastballs still that late into the game. Let him finish the inning. I mean, he had thrown 13 strikeouts. He was in the middle of their batting order, so it wasn't a tough batting order. for me, I don't know. I think Trevor Bauer is a great pitcher, and I'm really excited to see what he does for Cincinnati. But they should have just let him finish the inning, bring in the other guy for the 8th inning, and then the 9th inning, boom. That's a win for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, I'm looking at his numbers here because he is on my fantasy team. That was against Detroit. He pitched 6 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 13 Ks.
Yeah.
And didn't get the win or the loss,
Yeah,
which I guess works.
Didn't affect
either way.
didn't get any effect in the decision, but
No, he ended up with 28 fantasy points, but his next schedule start is Friday at the Tigers. So
yeah.
he's back playing against Detroit within just a couple of days. So, but and you can say the same. That day, for example, opening day, or no, he's the 3rd pitcher, right? Bauer.
Yeah, they have him as the 3rd pitcher, which I don't necessarily personally like. I mean, I'm fine with it, like as a whole, but I don't think it's the right way. I think he's definitely more valuable than that.
Sure. And, we were talking about hot pitchers. I had Shane Bieber as well from Cleveland, who pitched on opening day 6 innings, will give up 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 14 Ks with 32 fantasy points. He's ranked number 2 in the starting pitching right now. And so for me, that was fun to watch because as a Cleveland fan, we've had Corey Kluber for the past 4 or 5 seasons on opening day.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to see Bieber come in and mow down the Kansas City like he did.
That was nice.
Very about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he looked really, really good. But I don't know. I think for me, it's just very much, I get why these managers are tempering things and doing whatever, but it's let these guys play. It's a sprint. It's not a long season. These guys want to play. Let them play. And
that was one thing we mentioned last week is, if you get a few games behind, you're done. Now, maybe with the expanded playoffs, that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you go down quickly, 4, 5, 6 games, that's going to be really tough to claw your way back into this.
Sure.
And that's going to kind of be the exciting part from a fan's perspective to see how teams do that. And so, we're talking about pitching a little bit ago here. One other thing too we want to bring up is Matt Harvey's back in the league on a minor league deal.
He is, yes.
I didn't realize he was out of the league.
I didn't realize he was out of the league. And when you texted that to me about him getting a minor league deal, I was blown away. Just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, he signed a minor league deal with the Royals. And I guess for me, I just always saw him in a Mets uniform.
Right.
And because that's where he'd been forever. So I know he's dealt with some injuries here and there, but I didn't realize that he had been out of the league for good.
Right. Yeah, no, that was pretty surprising to see.
So what does a minor league contract mean right now with there not being any minor league games?
I would imagine.
Are they just signing him to the bullpen to minor league money?
So what I'm imagining is now that they've got those expanded rosters and they've got guys at the alternate location, I think that it's probably, hey, we're going to send you down here to kind of train and work, and if we need to call you up, be ready. That's what I'm imagining, at least for this season, that's what that means. Because I know Cincinnati just sent a couple guys down to I want to say it's Louisville, or no, it's in Mason, Ohio, the alternate site. And so now they're calling guys up. They just called up Hunter Green from over there. And so for me, I think it's just that's what I think it means. I could be very wrong on that, but it makes the most sense. You're sending these guys to go and work with these other teammates to stay healthy, to not get COVID, to not be the Marlins, who are, by the way, as awful as they are with dealing with everything, they're in first place in their division.
Right.
The Marlins, the now 17 confirmed COVID case team Marlins are 2-1 in the East.
Yeah, all 17 positive within 5 days.
Yeah. That blows my mind. How crazy would that be? The Marlins win the whole thing.
Right, Derek Jeter got something up his sleeve.
Yeah. That's I think I sent it to you. Maybe it was you who sent it to me. But how funny would it be if the Marlins sign, 40 and 50-year-old veterans like Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. and like gets them to come back in and play, and just to, get Sammy Sosa involved. Like, how funny would that be just to see if those guys could even still compete? I don't think they
And it's
could.
funny that came up too, because I was listening to Pardon My Take yesterday, and they had Deion Sanders on, and he said he could get you a button down third base and leg it out to first right now.
All right.
Which I don't doubt that.
No, I mean,
Because
he was just a different kind of athlete.
Yeah, the guys asked him on the show, like, what could you do if you were signed to a baseball team or a football team right now? And he said, what he could do in football, play nickel coverage and just kind of hang out in the back as a safety. And then he goes, I could be a leadoff bunt specialist and I can leg it out to first base still. And so
I love that confidence.
So funny. Up in that interview also came up. But, I mean, Prime still got the speed, though.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I think, I don't know. I mean, the Marlins are going to have to figure something out because, yes, they've had some early success, but I don't think that they can continue that success, especially with guys going down left and right like this, because I think they have to, quarantine for 10 days?
Something like that,
or at least until they get a positive result back or something.
Yeah.
Or a negative result, sorry.
Yeah, I think some, depending on who you are, you have to show like 2 negative tests and things like that. Yeah. So it's really interesting. And I'm kind of following here Kent Rosenthal on Twitter too. He does a great breakdown of everything, how it's going to, because it's all complicated to people who are outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so with how each team or each organization really is kind of handling it and how each league is handling it, really.
Right.
But yeah, he does a great breakdown of it here. And so, but yeah, I mean, now teams are refusing to go to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Washington who refused to go down there. So they did a team vote and they said nope. So I don't blame them because Miami's or Florida in general right now is a hot spot.
Yeah. No, it's Florida needs to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Even Tampa Bay, people forget about the Rays.
Yeah.
And, so when they play in a dome, so everything's contained there.
Yeah. One thing I will say with how this baseball season has started is nobody is lossless and nobody is winless. So they're all within 2 games of each other. It's early on. It's very manageable. If you've got a team who is, at the bottom of the division right now, it's still anybody's season. We're still early. I think once you get 10 to 12 games in, then you can start to worry a little bit because that's a quarter of the season.
Right. And also, I'll ask you too, what do you think about extra innings, the guy starting at second base?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I know that last night Milwaukee and Pittsburgh went into extra innings, and the 10th inning was the first. They went to 11 innings, I believe, was what the final score or the result went to, and it was the first time we've not seen the 10th inning second base runner not decided.
Yeah, the Indians played in Kansas City, or they played in Cleveland against Kansas City game 2, and it went to extra innings, and the Indians couldn't get the I can't talk. The Royals were able to get their second base runner in on top of the 10th. The Indians weren't, so that was the end of the game. But right now, I could see if you're playing a full season, I could see it making a lot more sense than right now.
Agreed. I think it's, for me, I think it's very much I'm still up in the air about it.
And I think right now the MLB looked at it as an opportunity to test it. 60 games, you give it a try. So it's like if next year they like it, they'll do it. If not, they lose out on a whole lot because it only affected 60 games, not 180, including playoffs.
Sure. No, I think it's interesting. It's crazy to think that that's how this season's going to go. I don't know. It's the whole thing is just nuts. Like you and I kind of joked about Manfred not doing a bubble thing and trying to exterminate the Marlins, but everybody else seems to have it figured out, or at least baseball has it figured out, or not baseball. Basketball has it figured out. Baseball doesn't have it figured out. Speaking of figuring it out, we figured it out in the pre-show how the NFL could make it work.
Yeah, we did. So I was on a hot take earlier on Twitter, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think you and I solved the issue here. is the NFL going into a bubble, playing all of their games in the state of Ohio. I'm not saying that because we're from Ohio. I'm saying because, listen, just hear me out. They've got all the MAC schools. They've got the Cleveland Browns Stadium. They got Cincinnati Stadium. You have the University of Cincinnati. They've got Ohio State. Then you've got Akron, Kent State, BG, Ohio,
Toledo,
Kent, Toledo, all those guys.
Miami.
You got all those Miami. You have all these nice big facilities. And then if you needed an extra one, you've got the Hall of Fame Stadium. I know guys don't like it anyway. That could be like a last resort type of field. But you've got all these facilities here. And so what you could do is you could put the AFC North and the NFC North in this city. 4 teams in each. You can get 16 games out of that. And then you can do the same thing in Cincinnati. You can do the same thing in Toledo, Akron, Kent, Ohio. Spread them out like that. Could work.
Could very easily work.
And you can get games kind of like what baseball is doing, partnering up the AL Central, the NL Central.
Well, and it's one of those things. If you really needed to expand it to another state, you've got the University of Michigan, 45 minutes north of Toledo. You've got Detroit, 45 minutes north of Toledo. You could even go all the way up to East Lansing for Michigan State if you really wanted to.
And you go to Pittsburgh. That's not far from the Ohio border.
So I mean, there's a lot of quality stadiums in driving distance, frankly.
And if you're in Cincinnati, you go to Louisville. You could, or if you're in Ohio, you're at Ohio U. You could go over to West Virginia. You're within driving distance of 4 hours, just about anywhere.
Yeah. So I think it works. I think like you said, you divide these divisions up accordingly and appropriately. It would benefit everybody, and I think it makes the most sense. We talked about doing it in Texas, but Texas is a hotbed for COVID right now.
And the thing is, too, in Ohio, you don't have to get on a bus, or you can get on a bus and go everywhere. You don't have to hop on a plane like you would in Texas, because it's 8 hours from the Texas border to San Antonio.
Right.
It's a big
long
play.
trip. Yeah.
Exactly. But you can be on a bus in 3 or 4 hours just about everywhere in Ohio. They've got the facility.
I can do Toledo to Cincinnati in about 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, OU to Columbus is an hour and a half, maybe, down to Athens.
Yeah, I think it's about an hour. Yeah.
And, Cleveland to Kent State's, same town, essentially. And then you got Akron, 45 minutes outside of downtown. BG and Toledo are 15, 20 minutes apart. So, on one road. So,
yeah, it's not even, you have to take a bunch of turns. It's I-75. There you are.
Exactly. So, that's my proposal to how to save the NFL. Goodell, give me a call.
Yeah. Goodell, if you listen, which I hope you do at some point, please give AJ a call. He has it figured out. He has a proposal all set up for you.
Exactly. It's very simple.
So Patrick Mahomes is now a part owner to the Kansas City Royals.
Lucky man. You signed for $500 million, and then you own a part of a baseball team the week later.
Yeah.
As I mentioned to you before the show started, Pat McAfee tweeted this out. That was really interesting. He was drafted to play baseball, decided to play football. Now he owns a baseball team, and his dad was a pro baseball player.
Right.
So I think it's kind of come full circle in his life, and all before the age of 24, 25.
Well, and to me, it's so crazy. It's like now you get everything you've ever wanted, because even though you're not playing baseball, you're now going to be a massive, contributor to the baseball team right there in your city. I think his dad was a major league pitcher, if I remember reading that correctly.
Yep, he's 24 years old.
Yeah. So it just blows my mind. Like, if I want to be anybody in the world right now, I want to be Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. And his season, if the NFL continues to play, he's going to be without one of his anchors on the offensive line. I don't know if you saw that, Laurent Duvernay.
Okay, yeah, I did see that.
He was a doctor, and he opted out to go back to Canada and help with the COVID fight. And so
can't blame him.
No, not at all. He's from Montreal, I believe. Yeah. And so this would have been his 6th season. He was due to make $2 million something, and now he's going to make 100 some thousand this year for opting out of contract. But I understand it. It's he's not the only player who has opted out, as we've seen today.
A lot of Patriots.
Half of New England Patriots. Danny Vitale. I believe he's a Patriot now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else did? There's been a few guys.
Patrick Chung.
Chung did. He just did a couple hours ago.
Yep.
Um,
Brandon Bolden.
the list is going to continue, I think. And
I think
if
we're
you're
going to
gonna
see 80 guys before the end of this is all said and done, honestly.
I think so too. Hightower,
Mhm.
Chung. I think there's going to be a few more. Obviously I'm a Browns fan, so I'm looking at their roster, and people are showing up today, which is good. I was excited to see that.
Mhm.
But let's see here: Brandon Bolden, Marcus Cannon, Danny Vitale, Najee Torin, Chung, Hightower, and I'm sure there's been a few more here as we've continued to talk.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and I'm sure as we speak today, this list, literally in the next hour, we will see probably 2 or 3 more guys just say, you know what, I'm good.
Absolutely. And, it's going to be interesting, too, because each team has to submit their COVID policy.
Mhm.
And so it was nice to see some of the teams finally get theirs approved and have these guys coming in. Like, for example, obviously, as I said, I'm following the Browns. So Baker showed up, Nick Chubb, Austin Hooper, the rookie, Jedrick Wills showed up this morning.
Mhm.
So a lot of these guys are coming in, which is good to see. I mean, hopefully we get some sort of a season. We could spend a whole episode just on those thoughts, but we'll have to spread those out.
Yeah, for sure.
Boy, I think we'll get some type of season, and we're still going to see our favorite players play. I think. You look at a lot of these guys who are opting out. A lot of them are the defensive backs, the linebackers, not the quarterbacks, the receivers, the running backs, the people to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what's going to kind of change a lot of things here in for this season. A lot of these defensive players that we're seeing opt out, and if there are offensive players, guys, that we're not seeing, let us know. We definitely want to make sure we talk about that as well. But these defensive players, I think we're going to see so much more offense. We're going to see ridiculously high scores in the NFL this year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one thing too we need to talk about that we didn't talk about pre-show was Jamal Adams. We'll have to get him in here as well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
His Twitter rant and how he got traded the next day.
Couldn't believe that. Could not believe that.
He didn't mess around in the Twitter beef he got into with Le'Veon Bell as well. But I know Adams, he's wanted out of there for a little while now.
Yeah.
He's definitely hasn't been happy with the Jets, and I don't blame him. And I don't think the Jets are happy with the Jets right now.
No, Adam Gase is not what the Jets need or deserve.
No, not at all. And so, and Woody Johnson, the owner, he's being investigated now for misconduct and things like that. So it's just going downhill.
Yeah, everything's a mess right now.
I think things have been slowly going downhill for the Jets for quite some time now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, I think, going back to Hard Knocks, really, which is, they were on Hard Knocks, 10 years ago, probably 10 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
With Rex Ryan, you could tell things were kind of starting to go downhill a little bit there. And
I think that was 2010. They were on Hard Knocks.
Okay. Yeah, so makes me look good as a Browns fan.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, I can't imagine you're too upset right now.
No, I don't know. And I don't know if you saw what the trade was for Jamal Adams, what they got in compensation there. The Jets kind of won that trade. You saw what they got.
Yeah, I think that the Jets, that trade, I don't think it necessarily hurts Seattle, but I definitely feel like, the Jets got a little bit of a boost on all that just because it helps them for the future.
Right. And if you look at the the safeties right now, the Seahawks have not Earl Thomas. He's not there anymore, is he? He's in Baltimore, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Baltimore.
Yeah. So you have Cam Chancellor and Jamal Adams back there. So really, they made out pretty well, but the Jets did end up with Marcus May, Bradley McDougall, Ashton Davis, and then a couple of draft, a first-round pick and a sixth-round, I think, in there, or a third maybe.
The Jets got a 2021 and a 2022 first-round pick, a 2021 third-round pick, and Bradley McDougall. The Seahawks got Jamal Adams and a 2022 fourth-round pick. ESPN has that graded as a Jets draft or Jets trade grade as a B+, Seattle's trade grade a C+.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they did give up for a lot for one individual player.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's good for both teams though, because the Seahawks are known for having good safeties. I mean, they have for years.
Legion of Boom.
Good defensive back in general.
Yep.
And then the Jets, who are a young team with you got to look at it. Gase probably won't be there much longer.
No.
But a fairly young team with a fairly young quarterback, or a very young quarterback, actually, getting him some draft picks,
Mm-hmm.
and they can maybe use those and build around him with maybe an offensive lineman or a tight end, something like that.
Sure.
But that could be good for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that. I think it'll be interesting to see how that trade works out on both sides over the next couple of years, especially once those draft picks, because it sets them up nicely in order to have a successful, future
Mm-hmm.
if they draft wisely. The Jets aren't really known for that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be really, really interesting to see what happens. It's one of those things that I think Seattle, again, this doesn't hurt them in the slightest. This is it's an upgrade for them in a team that's, you look at them defensively 1 or 2 plays away from making the Super Bowl again. And so I think that now you get to play like
year.
Yeah, and they're always in that discussion for the NFC Championship, the NFC divisional round. They're always being talked about as, hey, they're gonna do something. So,
yeah. Another football news here today: Joey Burrow, he signed his contract, $36.1 million. The Bengals pending physical, which is later this week. So it was a funny tweet earlier. It was actually Adam Schefter's tweet of this, and somebody's response was, in 5 years, he's going to own a part of the Reds, and you're not opposed to that.
I'm not, mostly because, well, one, Joey Burrow, he is an Ohio guy, born and bred here in Ohio. He, from what I understand, he grew up a Cincinnati Reds fan as well.
That was my next question.
That's from what I understand, and I could very well be wrong on that. And if I am, somebody please correct me. But I mean, he's from Southern Ohio. That's his stomping ground. So I think, all jokes aside, I think it would actually be really cool to see Joe Burrow be a part owner to the Cincinnati Reds. I think that'd be a really cool thing. Everything I've kind of read and have seen with Joe Burrow, he's just very much I want to give back to the people kind of person. And what better way to give back than to help an organization grow in football and help an organization grow in baseball? You're now helping the entire city of Cincinnati, these 2 beloved programs for this city. And I think you could argue that the Reds are far more loved than the Bengals. I think and I don't even really think it's an argument. I think it's just pretty much a fact. I posted something the other day about the people of Cincinnati, and Cincinnati fans don't view opening day just as opening day. They view it as just a notch below Christmas Day. And I think that's so true. So I think if Joe Burrow were to do something like that, I think it would just make the city of Cincinnati love him even more. They love him already. He's the vaulted savior of Cincinnati football, and he hasn't even played a snap. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
And I don't even think he's been to Cincinnati's facilities yet.
I don't think so.
I mean, until probably the next couple of days when guys start reporting, it'll probably be his first time in the facility.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see some of these rookie quarterbacks this year who are going to be either contending to start or will be the starter. To see how they pick up the playbook, how they pick up the speed of the game, because it's obviously something you can't practice. You can't practice game speed, so you just have to get there and play the games. Granted, coming from a big time program like LSU, that'll help a little bit. But I think at the end all, these reads and with these, the Jamal Adams of the world, reading those guys, it's going to be a challenge because you can't look at it in a playbook. You can't watch it on film. You have to do it live. Right. And so those guys are way behind the 8 ball right now because I'm sure OTA should have started a couple of months ago.
No, absolutely. I think they should have. And with everything going on, you bring up a really good point. This is going to be a lot more interesting to see what happens and who does what, because I don't think we're going to see guys out here like people are talking about Tua taking over in Miami right away. I don't think that happens now. They're talking about these running backs like Jonathan Taylor taking over right away. And I don't see it happening just because you've had such a lack of contact with other players and there haven't been OTAs. I think that you're going to see these guys get slowly transitioned into these offenses and these defenses at a much slower rate than you would have had they had the opportunity for OTAs.
Right. And, obviously Cincinnati has a second-year head coach.
Yeah.
And so this is his first chance with a true quarterback. I mean, Andy Dalton had been in that program for so long. And so, he was getting kind of burnt out there. And then he got benched towards the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those things where it helps the coach in the sense that he has his guy right now. There's no other – Joey Burrow doesn't have any competition. He's the guy. He can put all of his focus and energy into him and developing him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one positive and one thing that they have to look forward to is the opportunity to build on Joey Burrow alone and then build the guys around him, keeping the A.J. Greens healthy and Boyd healthy, those guys around him, because it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a little steeper learning curve right now, not having all this practice because the season's going to start in a couple of months, and it's hard to install a full playbook in just a few months and have a full understanding of what's going to happen.
Well, exactly. But I think, if anybody's going to do it in Cincinnati, I think a guy like Joe Burrow can, because, you look at it, he transferred from Ohio State to LSU, had to learn that whole playbook and ended up leading them to a national championship, 15-0. So I think if anybody can do it and flip that switch to learn that playbook, I think Joe Burrow can. It's going to be really interesting to see over the next couple of weeks here.
Absolutely. And kind of what they're allowed to do, in the practice in the facility with social distancing, are they going to be, because I know the rule is you have 16 padded practices per year, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, with everything going on, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of film study, a lot of, practice in the air right now before they actually can do what they're supposed to do. But that'll be an interesting story to follow. Another interesting one to follow is Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Getting the clearance back from football activities. So the Washington put him on the PUP list last night, and he was cleared by his personal doctor to resume activities. I don't think he's been cleared by the Redskins doctor yet, but at this rate, with the way the Redskins are going, I would prefer my personal doctor over the Redskins doctor anytime.
Oh, 100%. Well, and I think it's interesting you talk about, now they can kind of look at him and kind of monitor him. If my personal doctor, who is probably going to be one of the better doctors in the business overall, is giving me the go-ahead, I don't want to say these team doctors aren't great. I have a lot of respect for these team doctors, getting guys in and out and making sure they're healthy. But any personal doctor I'm going to go to is going to know me probably better than most other doctors, team doctor or not.
Especially with what I had to endure over the past couple of years.
Well, yeah, the broken fibula and, I just everything. He's required, 16, 17 surgeries, something like that.
Yeah.
I trust my doctor, who has been with me through every step of that recovery, far more than a doctor who sees me for 8 months out of the year.
Right. Right here, Ron Rivera stated either last night or this morning, if Alex Smith passes the physical, he's a part of the equation. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things where it's like, it's one of those things too. I don't know if I'm going to believe it until I see it,
Well, right. I think he'll be a backup. I don't think he's going to start anymore.
I think he could be one hell of a coach someday.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's a great comeback story. For me, it's similar to who was that? The linebacker for Pittsburgh, Ryan Shazier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great comeback story, and I love it. Don't put yourself out there anymore. If it's me, no. I take my money. Look, I have guaranteed money left on my contract. I take it and I go. I don't.
I'm pretty sure Washington paid him too, didn't they?
They paid him good.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, when they traded for him back in 2018, I believe. If they would release him right now, I think it's something like $20 million against the cap over the next 2 seasons.
That sounds about right. Because he hasn't played a game since 18.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, 2018, he's on the PUP list. What did they sign him for? That was a lot of money. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, $20 million over the
It was
next
a
2 years.
Because he signed a 4-year extension in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And he signed a 4-year contract extension, yeah. So, I don't know. That's one of those things where it's, do you risk it? Obviously, but he has to be able to perform. You know, he has to be able to take a 5-step drop or 3-step drop, whatever it is, and push off that back leg. And if he gets hit, he has to be able to get up. And with the short amount of time these guys have right now, it may be hard to even judge if he's healthy enough to play.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think, I know that there's been videos of him doing his workouts and, running and passing and doing some different drills and stuff. I just don't think, again, if I'm Alex Smith, it's not wise. I talk to my wife, say, honey, what do we do? If I'm his wife, I encourage him, stay home and, take care of the lawn. You've played your football. You've had your time.
Because right here, he signed a 4-year, $94 million contract extension with them. And the thing is, too, I don't even know if it's called FedEx Field anymore, but DC's field is not good.
No, it's terrible.
We've seen RG3 blow a few knees out on there, and it's just not a good surface to play on. So that's going to come into effect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they need to, they really, really need to focus on that and recognize, all right, look, there's a lot of issues with this facility. Let's get this field fixed. And then we can worry about getting guys back out here. The fact that they haven't done a massive overhaul on that field in a while says all you need to know about Washington. I don't think it's not that they don't care, but it's very clear that they don't care about winning a championship like they claim they do.
Yeah, the field's not their first priority. And now they, with everything that's gone on, changing the name and then FedEx getting involved, who are the name sponsor of the field. I don't know if they're sticking around still. I haven't heard anything different. I know they had requested that they change their name, and they've obviously done so.
Yeah.
But the Washington football team, that doesn't sound too bad. Or the
it really doesn't.
No, I had no problem with that.
Well, cool. And so I have a dear friend of mine who is a diehard Cowboys fan, and they have been absolutely trashing Washington for this. And, their fans always suck. That team always sucks. I get it. It's a divisional rival, but and I don't care where you stand on this. It's something the team felt they needed to do with pressure from finances, with pressure from, at least give them credit for recognizing, hey, if nothing else, give them credit for recognizing that they're going to lose money if they don't do something. So, I mean, they recognize, hey, we can't afford to lose this money.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to, unfortunately.
And it was so funny, too. I saw this on Twitter the other day. LeBron was tweeting about it, kind of laughing about it and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, he's like, oh, you guys had all this time. This is what you could come up with. And I'm sitting here like, dude, you named your son LeBron Jr. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
When it comes
you
to
had
names,
9 months to figure that out.
Yeah, you're not the one to talk about. I put a burden on him like that. So let's be real here, man. Come on. But
man.
NFL-wise, I believe that's really about it.
That about does it for the NFL. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the MAC.
Let's talk about the MAC.
Ball State's picking up Big 12 school and traveling out to Iowa State.
That's gonna be good for Ball State. Obviously, it's gonna be good for Iowa State too. I mean, they now get a quality opponent in Ball State who is a good MAC team, and Ball State gets to replace one of those 3 canceled games. I think that's a huge pickup for them.
It is, because obviously they're supposed to travel to Ann Arbor this year, and that's not happening with the Big Ten going conference only. Right. So it's a great opportunity for Ball State to get out of Muncie and go play a good Cyclones team, and a former MAC coach and Matt Campbell.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Matt Campbell from Toledo. I think it'll be nice for him, and I'm sure he probably had a hand in that as well, saying, "Look, this is a good league with good kids. Let's make it happen for him." I would put money on that Matt Campbell had a hand in making that happen.
Probably, and I'm curious to see who Iowa State, had to, who they lost a game for this vacancy to be open.
Well, and that's I'll look that up while you kind of talk about that game real quick.
Yeah, obviously, Ball State. Like I said, they're supposed to travel to Ann Arbor this year. That's not going to happen, as I mentioned. Big Ten going conference only. And if you look at the next couple of years, including this year and next, Ball State had a lot of great out of conference games scheduled. They're supposed to, like I said, go to Ann Arbor, and then next year they go to Columbus, which I'm very excited about. Ohio State has my heart, but Ball State has my money. So that'll be really fun. And, hopefully that game is played.
Right.
But I do love seeing these MAC schools picking up big-time opponents like this.
Because it works so well for them. It
does. And it works all around. And, for the longest time, Ohio State's, they were playing the BGs, the Toledos, all those guys just because they were in state. They didn't expand. They played Buffalo a couple of years back with Bill Mack was there. But they didn't really venture outside too far. They played those schools kind of they kept them on a retainer. They played them every couple of years, but they never played State. They played Miami of Ohio this year and waxed them. But it's a great opportunity, I think. Northern Illinois used to go down there back in the day. I remember that. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for everybody, I think. And it's a great opportunity for guys at Ball State who play at a Schumann Stadium with 20,000 people, go down to Columbus where there's 107,000. And so it's a great opportunity. I mean, it's also a great payday for Ball State, let's be honest.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it right now. I don't know. It looks like Ball State is replacing Iowa. Iowa State was that rivalry game. Iowa State was supposed to travel to Iowa, and Ball State is now filling that seat in.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Makes sense, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely makes perfect sense. And, like you said, it's a huge pickup for Ball State. Gets them the opportunity to kind of get a quality opponent. And I think part of it is the Big 12 realizes that of the Power 5 conferences, they're the ones who don't get as much love as the SEC or the Big 10. Now, I think the ACC, with the exception of Clemson, is kind of the redheaded stepchild of college football, but they aren't. I mean, they've won national championships recently, so you can't say the same about the Big 12. It's been a while since they've been in the national championship. So I think for them, it's good because they're like, look, we have a better strength of schedule because we played more teams. That in itself merits a better strength of schedule. And I think it'll be really exciting for Ball State. Those kids are going to get to go to an environment that sure, it's not Ohio State, but they get to go to a new environment and play a team who will be a much more competitive game, I think, than it would be at Ohio State.
Sure. And one thing I was kind of bummed out yesterday too, Riley Neal, former Ball State quarterback, and he he graduated, went to Vanderbilt for a year. He was waived by Denver yesterday. And so it was kind of a bummer to see. My buddy and fellow Ball State alum, we were talking about it. Ball State hasn't had a quarterback throw a pass in the NFL, and God knows how long. Because it wasn't Nate Davis. Keith Wenning made it to second string, and obviously with Riley Neal, being waived before training camp or anything has even started, he was signed as an undrafted free agent. Struggled at Vanderbilt a little bit, but that is quite the change there, going from MAC to playing at an SEC, a lower end SEC school. But yeah, it was a bummer to see him get waived.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's disappointing. I mean, you obviously want to see those guys go on and succeed and do whatever they can, but at the end of the day, it's a business. Which, like it or not, that's unfortunately the approach that you have to take. And I think a lot of those guys do take it that way, especially the ones that do make it. They're appreciative for the opportunity to get that far.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they know that, look, unless I do what I need to do, I'm out. And I think they get that.
And Riley Neal, too, was a kid who was 2 minutes away from beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame a couple of years ago.
I remember watching that game. That was that was nuts.
Yeah, my parents were there.
Okay.
And, he was so close. But we're talking about guys opting out. Marquise Goodwin just opted out for the 2020 year as well.
Mm-hmm.
That was just
Wow.
announced. But Riley Nealon, he was so close to beating Notre Dame. 2 minutes away. I think it was like a late turnover. It was like 33-27 was the final or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a bummer. Other than MAC news, I don't think there's really anything else.
Nothing else really. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at some previews that ESPN kind of threw together for the MAC West. And something that I really, really think Ball State is projected to go 7-5 this year.
Mhm.
They went 5-7 last year, 4-4 in conference play, 7-5 for this upcoming season, 5-3 in conference play is what they're expecting. I definitely think that Ball State is on the up and up. This is not a team that you can just sit there and just look over. I mean, the MAC West is always competitive. You've got Northern
Right.
Illinois, you've got Toledo, you've got, Ball State, you've got even Central Michigan as of late has been really competitive, winning the division last season. But you can't say anything about the lack of heart from any team in this division.
Yeah. Caleb Hutley, our running back, is on the Maxwell Award watch list.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of guys who are on some watch lists. But we also gave Coach Mike New a contract extension this year.
I saw that, yeah.
Gave 2 years, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that did kind of surprise me, the sense that he hasn't done a whole lot while he's been there. Ball State's never won a bowl game. We had an opportunity to in 2013. We lost the GoDaddy Bowl to Arkansas State. It was Arkansas State down in Mobile. But yeah, Ball State's never won a bowl game, and they haven't been to a bowl game in a couple of years. And hopefully now some of the new facilities they're building for the football program, and they're building a new indoor football facility. Hopefully things like that help, because it's something we haven't had. The guys the seniors and the juniors who declared would do their pro day in the rec center at Ball State, because we had a 50-yard indoor turf football field. So, like, where we do our intramurals at is where they would do their pro days. And so it was so funny, too, because it's on 2 levels. So you could be on the outside looking through the glass, watching these scouts and watching these guys work out.
That's cool.
And, for these scouts going to that, you're not getting the full effect of what a player can do in a rec center with students walking past.
Sure.
It just doesn't work. Then you go to Toledo, you go to Ohio. Some of those programs have phenomenal facilities. And that was one of the reasons why Pete Lembeau left a couple of years ago and took a job at Maryland as an assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, because Ball State wasn't giving him the facilities he needed to be successful. They were paying him a lot of money, too.
Mm-hmm.
He did good. He won a lot of ball games, but he needed something to get over that hump. And when it came, we have a phenomenal weight room, but when it came to the facilities, the practice facilities and things like that, the Ball State wasn't really going to support him in that. So that's why he ended up leaving.
Right.
And Mike New coming in, and now they're finally getting these facilities and stuff taken care of, which I think, as an alum, I think it's huge. I think it's going to be great. We talked to the Ball State golf coach a few weeks ago, and they've got their own brand new facility as well.
Yeah.
And so, I've driven past that. It looks incredible. I've seen some videos from the inside of it. It looks awesome. But I'm glad to see Ball State as a whole, finally starting to invest in that, in the athletes, and trying to get better, because they built a brand new baseball and softball facilities when I was down there. The golf facility, they're building, adding on to the arena, building practice courts, I believe, and then they're also working on a football facility. So I drove through campus a few weeks ago, and it was just construction all over the place, which is good to see.
Right. No, and I think, it's having that support for a program. I think it's so hard for these MAC schools to get that extra financial support without these out of conference games and whatnot. But I think if you get an athletic director who is willing to support what you're doing and what your mission is, I think you're going to get something really special. And I think Ball State is getting close. I don't think Ball State is there yet. I think, Coach New has a lot of things working in his favor for this season. He's got a lot of returning players that, in previous years, he would lose guys to injuries or, graduating seniors, whatever. I think even back in 2017, Riley Neal got hurt, and they had no other quarterbacks who could take over.
No.
The defense wasn't. I mean, the defense wasn't terrible, but you can only do so much when your offense isn't giving you anything. So I think right now, Ball State is in a good place to, if not win the division, definitely be competitive within the division and get back to a bowl game at 7-5. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I think we have a great opportunity. We've got a couple of key wins over the past couple of years within the MAC. We've beaten Toledo. We've beaten NIU. So we're on the right track. But hopefully Coach New can, prove on his new contract and get some wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. If I had to sit down and I'll just do this quickly, if I had to sit down and rank how I think the MAC West is going to go, I think right now Central Michigan is the team to beat. I think that them coming off of a hot campaign, they've got a lot of returning starters this year. I think that they are the team to beat. But I think after that, you've got a three-way race for second place in Ball State, Toledo, and Northern Illinois. I think Western Michigan falls back a little bit. And then I think Eastern, while they are going to be good and competitive, I think that Eastern finishes at the bottom of the division just because they've lost a lot of guys to graduations, to transfers, there's just so many things. It's Eastern Michigan relies on what Mike Glass is going to be able to do. Last year, this year, I think now they've got, I think Preston Hutchinson and a grad transfer from some school in Utah. I forget which one, but we don't know anything about these guys. Mike Glass was the glue for that offense last year. And I think that the offense takes a significant step back this year. So I think Eastern goes back to being the bottom of the division. But I think right now, truly, this division is up for grabs for anybody. Central probably has the inside track.
More than likely, yeah, they've been the hottest team here the past couple of years. Western's kind of struggled ever since PJ Fleck left.
Yep.
That he was vital in rebuilding that program. One of my high school football coaches was a captain at Western back in the day, and he talked about he hated to see him leave because all the alumni loved him, all the former players loved him. Well, he understood why he left, and and what he's done with Minnesota, he's put Minnesota football back on the map. But yeah, I think the MAC is wide open in general this year. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, we can maybe this year end up going to the MAC championship. That'd be a lot of fun. I've never been.
That'd be a blast.
And Detroit's not that far from either one of us, and we've never been.
I went to the MAC championship back in 2017 when Toledo beat Akron. Because, as a Toledo guy, it's like we haven't been here since 2001 or 2004. Kind of my responsibility to go to this game. So I really do hope that whoever's there, we can make that trip up and that they'll allow fans and such.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking at the Ball State football schedule here right now. They were supposed to open up with Maine coming down to Muncie, and that's been postponed. Mm-hmm. And obviously, us traveling to Michigan's been canceled. They just added Iowa State. And this was kind of, obviously because it's a Big Ten, but at IU. Muncie or Bloomington's only 3 hours south of Ball State, if that.
Mm-hmm.
But they did cancel that. But we still do have Wyoming on the schedule. Wyoming does come to Muncie. Then Western, then Western, then Buffalo, then Northern Illinois, Akron, Miami, Eastern, Central, and Toledo. So we end the year with Toledo, which is interesting too because we usually end the season with Miami.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we get into MACtion here. Looks like Ball State only has 3 MACtion games this year. Tuesday, let's see here. Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday. So we play at, let's see here. Eastern comes to Ball State on a Tuesday night. We go to the following Tuesday, Wednesday, we go to Central, and then we go to Toledo the following Tuesday as well.
Okay.
So that is interesting, though, to see only 3 of those games this year, but with the scheduling and whatnot, maybe they'll do more of it. With being only conference, they might just, do the whole season in MACtion. I'm cool with that.
That would be amazing, honestly. As a fan, for us, I'd love that because then you get football during the week as well. But I think, on a national level, that gets them a little bit more exposure Even
Sure.
you start in September, you've got, Wednesday night action. Absolutely. Like let's have that happen. But we have a new intro.
We do.
I hope people are going to enjoy. It is one Josh Cribbs, as you guys heard on the intro today, from Kent State. Went to Kent State, played football there, and is the 3-time Pro Bowl all-decade return specialist for the Cleveland Browns. We were excited to get that recording from him. Looking forward to having him on the show at some point soon. And we were really excited to have that and to share that with you guys. He did that recording for us. So Josh, thank you so much for doing that. Like I said, we're really looking forward to having you on the show soon. It's going to be a good time. Get to talk about some action football and some NFL football. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really cool. He was very excited. And of course, he's a MAC guy. And I think those MAC guys kind of hold it, their pride a little higher than most conferences do because it doesn't get the love that it does deserve.
Sure.
And so I think he appreciated us being able to deliver the message, talk about Maction, and hopefully we can get him on here soon. We also got a few other things we're working on guest-wise. It's getting a little tougher now. The schools are, starting to get back into motion, and the programs are starting to get back into practice and things like that. So we've got a few feelers out there. So hopefully the next couple of weeks we can have somebody else back on. We with the guys we have reached out to, they're big time names. So that would be awesome. It'd be so much fun to have them on as well. But yeah, we'll keep you guys informed there. Thank you for following us on social media where our numbers are starting to go up there. We really do appreciate that. But that's all I've got on my end, partner.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me as well. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely excited to see some normalcy return to sports. Definitely get more content out to you guys. Got a few things, like AJ said, kind of brewing. Got a preview show I think we want to do with the Beard Brothers for the college football season. And then, our new best friends over at the Mac Bandwagon podcast. They are the Hustle Belts official Mid-American Conference podcast. Those guys have some good content. We're going to be doing some stuff with them here shortly. So
I believe I'll
be
done with them the next couple of weeks.
Yes, AJ's going to be doing a Mount Rushmore for Ball State athletes with them. So going to be a lot of fun. Really excited to have him on to share his Ball State knowledge with them and to do a little bit of a collaboration there. So yeah. So cool, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to check us out on social media. Continue to follow us at College Sport Pod. You can find that on Twitter. You can follow our Beard cousins over at the Beard Brothers Fantasy Football Podcast. That is Beard Bros FF. You can follow myself on Twitter at SheerDumbLuck. You can follow AJ at Roughing55. I think that's going to about do it for me. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
See ya.